Speaking of social media, I met our next speaker on social media. She is a true inspiration. A lot of our patients know her. Everyone actually knew her before I even came in touch in Minnesota. But it's my great pleasure to introduce Julie Engle. Um, Immediately after having her third child, Julie developed chronic pain, chronic fatigue, and brain fog, from which she was diagnosed as fibromyalgia. Ultimately, cannabis brought everything under medical control. Julie received a D1 scholarship for tennis to University of Denver. She attended DU for 1 year and made the decision to transfer to University of Madison, Wisconsin, where she received her Bachelor of Arts in Communications. As an extension of the Wisconsin program, she attended Imperial College of London. Currently, with 3 young boys, 12, 10, and 7, she's a full-time mother and lives in Minnetonka, Minnesota. I can say that one. During the first 4 years of having her third child, she tried many different types of traditional medicine, none of which were effective. This was a very difficult period, and at one point she was on about 10 different medications. 3 years ago, she began using cannabis, among other lifestyle changes, and she now has her life back and is a strong advocate for cannabis. Give it up for Julie Engle.
So, again, hi, I'm Julie. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I probably will get emotional because, that's what happens when you get sick. But I am an educated suburban mom, and I consume cannabis, and it's just not that big of a deal. As Paloma stated, I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison. I studied at Imperial College of London, and I live in Minnetonka, Minnesota, and I have 3 beautiful boys and 2 dogs. I used to have 3, but I'm not like a crazy dog lady. It just kind of happened that way. But let me go to the next page here. So I got sick in 2014. Basically what happened is, I think when it started is when I had my third child. He was 4 weeks early, and he was in the NICU for 3 weeks. And I remember having him, and my body just felt off. I was super tired, but I was stressed. We didn't know what was wrong with my baby. He ended up being diagnosed with viral meningitis, and I was going back and forth. I stayed there every night, but I had 2 little kids back at home. And so after you have a child, you're so out of it and you're exhausted. But I do remember feeling sick, and it lasted a few months. Again, everybody gets, you just feel like crap after you have a baby. And that lasted a few months, and then I'd say 3 months later, the same thing happened, but it lasted 2 months, and I'm like, okay, well, whatever, I guess, I don't really know what's going on, but it didn't really faze me that much. And then one fall, I was in Las Vegas with my ex-husband, and I remember taking a nap. I'm like, I gotta go lay down. And so 2 hours later, I get up, and I can barely get out of bed. And I call him because he was waiting for me downstairs, and I'm like, listen, I can't even get up. I'm not functioning. And we came home shortly after, and it just kept getting worse. The body pain was excruciating. The fatigue was horrible. I literally couldn't get through a day without taking a nap. And I was a stay-at-home mom. My ex-husband works a ton. And so it was really, really hard. I started developing brain fog, so basically I couldn't remember easy words. I'd be talking to people and I couldn't even function. And the hardest part about it is that it's kind of an invisible disease. I would see people and I'd put on my smiley face like, hey, what's up? Yeah, I'm good, da-da-da. But all the while I'm aching. And gosh, it was awful. And so after 6 weeks of that bout, I went to see my internist, and I'm like, something's going on. I have ulcerative colitis. I've been in remission for over 10 years. But I was like, so I knew to be an advocate for myself. I knew I should go get blood work taken. So I go in, and we get our blood work back, and he's like, everything looks fine. Your labs look fine. You just have a virus, and you have to wait it out. And I'm just like, okay, whatever, I'll wait. So then the days go by, the weeks, the months. That one lasted 6 months. I would wake up and I would go to bed and I would be like, God, I hope I wake up tomorrow so good. Like, please, can tomorrow be the day that I wake up? You know, and the morning would come, my kids would need me, and I'm just in so much pain. And you wake up, and it's like it's the middle of the night, like you've been hit by a truck, and all you want to do is sleep, but you can't with your kids. And I also wanted to lay there, but I couldn't because my body hurts so much. When you lay still, it increases the pain because you're not distracted. So these years were really horrible. I remember, my kids, they'd be like, Mommy, come play, and I couldn't play with them. I've always been a really active mom. I volunteer. I'm on gala boards. I take my kids everywhere. I play with them, like I'm hands-on, and I couldn't do what I used to do. So it was really hard, and nobody really understood, because you can't really explain chronic pain and fatigue to people. So that was a really hard time in my life. I spent those 4 years going to so many types of doctors. You're so desperate to get better. I tried diets. I tried Eastern medicine, Western medicine, acupuncture, the whole bit, and nothing really was clicking for me. And again, it's like instead of focusing on my kids, I was stressed about when's my next doctor's appointment, when am I going to try this, how long do I try this until it might work, because I need something to make me feel better. I'm 37 years old, and I can't live like this anymore. And over the time, I was being put on more and more medications. Eventually, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is basically you have these symptoms. We don't know what's wrong with you. Blood work can't diagnose fibromyalgia, so this is what you have. Okay, well, it felt good to have something, a word to what was going on. So one night, I was sitting next to my bed and had all these pill bottles, and my ex-husband was like, "You're like a pill popper." I'm like, I don't know what to do. This is what the doctors are giving me. A lot of the medications were, because of my ulcerative colitis or anxiety and all that kind of stuff. But it was just adding up, and it was really scary. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be like the suburban mom that uses opioids and gets addicted to heroin. All of a sudden, I'm like, getting in a lot of trouble, and I like messed my whole life up. And so opioids definitely really scared me, but they also helped. But I was always very cautious about using them because that's a huge fear. So the day after I was looking at all my pill bottles, I was like, okay, I've got to make a change. I can't live like this. I'm too young. What is my life going to be like when I'm 40 or I'm 50? And so I found a chiropractor that specializes in autoimmune diseases. And his wife happens to be a psychotherapist that focuses on plant medicine. And the two of them really saved my life. So I went to go see both of them. And the first thing I said to the psychotherapist was, I think my medications are making me sick. I need to go off of them, and I need to figure out what to do. And so she helped me with the body-mind connection, and she taught me how to use cannabis as medicine. In the past, I used cannabis once in a while to get stoned, because that's what you did in high school or college, and that's all I thought is, what cannabis was for. And I didn't realize that you could actually use it as medicine. And so I literally went off all my medications. Some of them I had to taper over 3 months. And then I started using supplements. I started saying no to things. So being an active social person, I literally called all the, any committees I was on. I called my friends, and I'm like, listen, I'm going to be focusing on myself. For once, I have to get healthy. So I slowed down. I started doing heated yoga, and I started using cannabis, like I said. The way that I use cannabis is I microdose in the morning. So it's high CBD, low THC, because I need to function. I've got my kids, I'm driving around, and I don't like being really stoned anyways. I use high THC at night because for me, sleep is key. And if I don't get a good night's sleep, then I'm, ramping my body up to get sick again. So that is how I currently consume cannabis. I'd say within 2 weeks, I had my life back. I couldn't believe it. I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm not sick. So it was just the best feeling to have energy again and be the person that I always was. I am not anti-pharmaceuticals. I still have some on the back burner for when I need certain things. If I have an ulcerative colitis flare at some point, I might have to go back on medication. I'm not sure. But my life is so good. And so since then, I've just been an advocate, as far as using cannabis as medicine and recreationally. Like, a lot of moms were exhausted, and being a mom is really, really hard. Being hungover sucks. And so it's real. It's not enjoyable. So, especially when you have kids. So I talk to everybody I can. I'm like, have you tried using cannabis? Maybe have one drink and, use a little bit of cannabis. It helps take the edge off. It's not that big of a deal. You're not hungover. You don't get like crazy. You don't do stupid things. You're chill and you're happy and you don't you don't wake up with a hangover. Like, I don't understand. And so I'd say most of my friends actually consume cannabis. They are doctors, they're psychiatrists, they are CEOs, they're founders of companies, and they're all consuming cannabis because they don't like drinking as much as they used to. I'm a better mom. It helps me stay calm. And I owe my life to this special plant medicine. And I don't know, I'm a little flustered right now, but thank you for listening to my story.